Minutes are distributed. Take a look for promote stink. New resolutions. Teams will be, I believe, one's just gonna be.
And drain? I was told they would be here.
They're gonna be here, okay, and the one's just gonna be here.
Anybody else? You guys say drain alumni? What is?
The donorship will be
I
here.
went to public school.
Oh, Sammy.
Not I am.
I mean, to
Yeah, just a rip shot.
auditor and.
I do.
Good morning. All right, you got a couple items on the agenda here. So I'll go through A and B kind of simultaneously. First two items for appropriation, I'm seeking requests for your support for. First one is consulting fees. So we, up to this point, we hadn't built in, we only have a PO for the 2024 audit work that's going to be done. So we need that. We just finished 23. We're getting into 24 now. Requesting 100,000 based on the way we performed our analysis for 23. I don't think we'll come close to that because Bldg on my team is doing an extraordinary job and she's doing a lot of the work. But just in case there are hiccups and things that we don't foresee, you know, 100,000 for those guys is less than the 23 amount, should cover 24. And that's with Baker Tilly.
But we're doing better, but you and I discussed in detail. This is gonna be a record-setting year, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, for the audit, I think we're in a lot better shape. We went basically, and we are now going through month by month, bank statement by bank statement. It's a tedious, horrendously slow process, but Biljana is killing it, doing a fantastic job. The good thing about the way that I've decided to proceed this way is we are able to have some detail and support behind why we're making these adjustments for our audit and our GL. It's not that, you know, from a high level and like accounting standpoint, based on the transaction flow, we think we should book this and we're material. That's kind of how we approached 23 because it was new. It was kind of, we're all trying to get to where we needed to go. 22, I should say, 23, we tore into the details big time. And we have a ton of actual solid support that we can get behind and say, hey, look, this is what was hold us up. This is where we need to change things. Some conversion issues with whatever, payroll issues, whatever buckets we put it in, but it's actual, we can point to the line transactions that were incorrect and fix them. So that's, to me, that's exciting.
And it will ultimately generate money.
Well, I mean,
Tax sales is what we need when we're at the end of the day.
well, but yeah, tax sale, that's the, another item on, that's the third item down, so item B. So we're requesting an additional appropriation for $86,500 because our contractor at Onyx Electronics, he monitors the sale details, transactional details online that we process, right? So this past tax sale was the highest in Lake County history in terms of number of transactions. So I say that for two reasons. One, because I want to publicly recognize our tax sale department. They did a kick-ass job and have been doing a really good job of being as efficient as possible because they were down 2 people throughout most of the year. And, you know, couple that with the fact that we had the most transactions and the owner of Onyx Electronics stated to me personally, hey, even though this was the busiest tax sale in history, it went the smoothest because of the people that we have in place. So definitely want to recognize that department in front of you guys because they did a hell of a good job. And again, it's a great thing to see having a ton of activity come through for tax sales and stuff like that. So, and the way that the Onyx is scaled is he bases his billing on transactions, number of transactions. So the way I kind of budgeted for it last year is like on a 24-month average spend. I mean, no one would have foreseen pick up in transactions. So that's why like we had a huge bump in the number of transactions online that people participated in.
Now on the appropriation, the original, Dan, you say you might not even need that, but if it doesn't, as I told you, I'd support this. I don't want you to keep it and then transfer it to some other,
No.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, for the consulting fees one, provided we don't, run up against the total amount, it goes back to the.
It goes-
general fund.
Right, it doesn't go into office supplies.
No, heck no.
Other.
No, we wouldn't do that.
I know you wouldn't, yeah, just want to confirm for everyone.
Yeah, for sure, I understand. So yeah, the one that I didn't cover is the matching funds of 80,500. So that one is related to, we get a annual bill every year to request for contributions to NERC. And prior to the bill that we currently received, or most recently received, I'll be honest, I had no idea how it was calculated, whatever. So based on my other ways of doing the budget for last year, I just took a 24-month average spend. And here you go. When I got the bill for higher than we budgeted, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Found out that it's actually based on a prescribed rate that these contributions are calculated with. So House Bill 1120, this is where it gets fun. I learned a lot of cool stuff. House Bill 1120 established a fixed per capita rate by year up to like 2029. That basically says, the calculation is basically this per capita rate times the number of residents projected out, right? So for 2025 through 2029, it increases every year because the assumption is that the number of residents is going to continue to increase. So good news is, won't have to be asking for more next year because I know how the rates are going to be calculated. I know exactly what we're going to be getting. So I'm going to build it into the budget correctly and shouldn't have an issue. Bad news is you got to ask for more money because I didn't have that information at my fingertips last year. So.
Right.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Dan, I think it was last year or it was late the year before that we passed an ordinance. No, it's probably last year. And Larry, you may remember this, where NERC was asking us for a larger allocation. It might be good to get with Larry on that. I think it was last year that we passed that. Ty Warner came in here and they were really pushing for a much larger piece of the pie, and we negotiated out kind of a more graduated system. So that I think is something to look into as well with some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was also a Senate bill last year regarding the funding. To see what happened to that.
Yeah, because I know just from what I've looked into, and I've had conversations with the folks over at NERC, and they indicated that it's gonna increase until 2029 when the calculation itself changes to a different formula, which I didn't bother looking into that at this point, but it is changing after that year, but it's supposed to be.
Started about a year ago, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so like 2025, I'll give you kind of some more color. The rate is 0.86 per capita. So 0.86 times number of residents expected for 2025 is what we're paying for now. It increases each year. So 26 is 1.02, 27 is 1.18. That's a big jump. 1.34 and 1.5 for 2029. So those are some pretty good sizable increases, which again, maybe something I can look at. I don't, this is, like I said, it's House bill. I don't know that we have a lot of control over what they ask for. But yeah, I mean, definitely something to think about as we move forward in terms of what we're kind of locked in at. But like I said, good news is the calculation is right. So we'll have it, correct and accurate budgets.
Oh, yeah, just work with Scott so we get our numbers right for the next year, you know,
Definitely.
and dollar amount. Not the rate.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
As you continue to go through some of these audits, I remember getting some information from Scott in the past that we had like fund balances in different accounts that were way high, negative and all over the place, which obviously was not correct. As you talk about this, working through it month by month, are we like bringing some sanity to these numbers that we're moving in a direction where we can actually have correct balances?
150%. That's what's exciting for me. Most people I talk to, including my wife, guess what we did today? But like, that's the good part. Like, cash is the good thing is, I think overall, there's no like reasons involved, there's no
Right.
hiding, there's no saying,
Right,
like, none of that's happening. It's just the way the stuff was recorded.
Right.
We had an opportunity, like I said, to dig into the details, and we are now. Having a negative fund balance isn't necessarily a terrible thing because for items, right, like reimbursable, grants or whatever, you're gonna have negative fund balance, and that's okay. But yeah, we've worked through and we feel confident for everything that we put, going forward. Otherwise, we wouldn't say, hey, look, you guys come on in for the audit. If we weren't, if we knew we couldn't substantiate anything, we wouldn't even bother. And I was upfront with the SBOA team. I'm like, look, I'm not having you guys come in unless I'm comfortable, at the highest level. And we can support whatever we put down in front of you guys. So yeah, it's a really good story, 23 and 24. We do have some cleanup, around payroll activity, that we do manually, and it's very arduous, and we need to address that. But for the most part, after all the work that we put in to get the GLs right, they're solid. So,
No, I mean, that helps us do our job better,
yeah.
manage cash. I think for bonds too,
I found the resolution's 2409. That was the resolution we passed on that.
Not binding,
Right. But that'll give you some reference and conversation so you can see what was adopted here. Also, that was in February of 24. Started.
But one thing, to piggyback to what you're saying, just because the audits are complete, and the general ledger is in a stellar spot, there's a lot of manual that took place to reconstruct those financials. And without changing processes in-house, you're going to continue to repeat those mistakes of the past. And we're going to continue to have teams of rebuilding the general ledger. So it's not just fixing the past, it's also instilling processes that prevent those mistakes from recurring. That need to take place. Otherwise, we'll continue to have the situation that we have.
And just to add too, we're gonna continue to pay Baker Tilly to do this manual prep, because we just don't have enough people to pour through the data like we have been doing. So if we don't, well, yeah, exactly. The folks who are in some of these positions that are causing, 80% of the manual work that we have to do with Baker Tilly, we have to make sure that we solve those problems. That's the biggest.
And is there an opportunity when this process is complete to really kind of step back to the beginning, make sure we identify the why, right? I know that the auditors have to an extent, but also to identify what Scott was saying. What can we do? What type of people do we need in certain positions, right? What skill sets are we lacking? What can be turned over to processes and software, utilization of tools and equipment to help clean this up, streamline it, make it more efficient?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've already,
I'd love to have like a summary of that.
I can definitely put that together because I have most of it. amassed a lot of things that, in my experience, I would like to see changed. It's not up to me to make the final decision, right? I need support.
Yeah, let's take a look at all of that when you're finished with the project.
Yeah, absolutely, because there are some glaring issues, and I mentioned it, I think, in an email after the very first audit, and brought some attention to it. And these are the same issues that are going to continue unless we take action and do the right thing in order to fix it, because otherwise, like Scott said, we're just stuck in a perennial state of banging our heads against the wall, doing all this. We really don't need to do because we need to fix it at the source, source. So. Yeah, I'll get you kind of a overall thought process of how I want to.
Yeah, it's kind of starting at the beginning. We identify the why, we look at what was done to correct it, and then we look at what are recommended things that we can do and apply going forward to make sure that we don't have this situation happen again.
Yeah, I will say a large piece of it is the fact that Oracle accounts for our ledger and our processes differently. So again, to the qualified folks, when the switch was made, processes stayed the same, even though they should have been changed, given the accounting environment changed, the accounting software changed, but nobody in-house had the ability to articulate the needs from an accounting perspective at all, or really from a system perspective, because it was just like, we'll try to jam it and make it awesome. And it didn't work, obviously. So now I'm finding myself unwinding as much as I can, but again, I'm only one person, Juliana, Leah on my team have been a tremendous help. But it's all encompassing. I mean, the entire county's got to get their heads behind this stuff, and jump in, because honestly, this is like the biggest change in my eyes. It's the biggest change in the county's history, and it's an opportunity to be a part of something really, really special to kind of reorganize, revamp, and change things for the better. And just have I've said it before, and maybe I'm crazy, but my goal for Lake County is to have be the poster child for accounting. And I want us to have the best processes in place. I want other counties to look to us. We have the size, we've got, the income. There's no reason why we shouldn't be the best of the best. So that's my overall goal, and I'll say it until I broke it.
Definitely in the last year, I've noticed a big difference, and it took Scott a few years, and we all noticed that, obviously. The bang up job he's done, but in the year and dealing with the auditor's office, I really appreciate what you're doing.
Well, thank you. That means a
Make
lot.
it much easier for a layman like we do.
Cool. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Yeah, questions? You guys ever want to learn any more accounting? Here are my offices.
Sounds riveting.
I'm telling you, Scott knows.
All right, thanks.
Thank
No
you.
problem, man.
Superior Court 4. Mr. Ham.
It's a transfer.
Oh, Sasha's online.
Is she?
Yes, I am.
Morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you want to speak on your transfer request?
Yes, thank you. We were asking for a transfer from office supplies to furniture and fixtures. We were buying chairs for the bench, and we've been going through this for about 2 years, just trying to find one that works. The way that bench was designed, it's higher. I think it's higher than normal, or it should be. So finding something that works has taken a while. We've had people come in and give us samples repeatedly, and then we finally found 2 chairs that worked. So that's what the request is for. Not extra money, just transferring from one fund to the other.
I'm in full support. You, Sasha, Judge, you're not gonna short your office supplies, right?
No,
Oh.
we've got everything else. And listen, when I go to conferences, I was just at a judicial conference. I grabbed all the pens and notepads, so I'm stocking up where I can.
Good job.
Yeah,
I'm-
yeah.
I'm in support.
Any questions for anybody on the transfer?
And those were put out there to be taken, or did you have to confiscate it?
No, I did not steal any. They were all out and you could take as many as you wanted.
Just checking, Sasha.
Yeah, thank you.
The grant, the problem-solving grant?
So the problem solving grant, I know that we are supposed to ask before we apply for a grant. And within our department, there was some confusion as to whether we were going to apply for it, if we needed to. We thought once we got one particular grant, we were eligible. If we didn't use it all, it would roll over. That's not how it worked. We were told by the Office of Court Services, you have to apply every year. And that deadline was approaching. So we applied for it before asking the council's permission. And we actually got the $12,000 grant again for next year. So I know it's not the way that the council wants us to do it. We were confused, and it was like the last minute thing. Moving forward, obviously, we know we're going to come and ask before we have to apply for it. But we did apply, we did get it, and we just have to make sure that that gets added to our line item for next year. But we did get the 12,000 from the Indiana Court Services.
Judge and I talked about that. I'm in full support as well. Yeah, it's much better than losing it, right?
Yeah, there's no match.
There's no match.
No,
That's good job.
thank you. That's it. That's all from us.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions from anyone? Thanks, Judge.
All right, thank you.
Happy Fourth.
Happy 4th of July.
Juvenile court.
Morning.
Good morning.
So this is our first one here is high-risk outreach program. We did the ordinance stuff last month. So this is just to create the line items. Probably like supplemental pay, for supplies, contractual services, and other services and charges. We need to appropriate. So supplemental pay can be $2,260. FICA $172.12, PERC $319.50, other supplies $7,000, contractual services $13,200, and other services and charges $2,300, for a total of $25,241.60. C is another grant. This is also a substantial ordinance last month. It's the GDUI grant. So other supplies, contractual services, travels, meals, travel, lodging, travel, transportation, and other travel mileage, food and lodging, other services and charges. We want to appropriate that. The other supplies at $3,390. Contractual services at $13,500. Travel and meals $200. Travel and lodging $1,200. Travel, transportation, and other $120. Travel mileage $270. Food and lodging $7,110. Other services charged at $14,560, for a total of $65,350. E is a appropriation for the rights of discovery storytelling. And this is a 2-year contract. It's in the 2nd year. The individual that works with the girls is Teresa Butler. The focuses will be on support of positive emotional development, vocational correction for at-risk female teens who are involved with the juvenile court. The overall goal is to improve interpersonal communication by self-awareness, emotional regulation, and increase career success, build confidence, and develop conflict resolving skills.
Who provides these contractual services? Who provides these contractual services?
Grants you have, like in each grant, you have these contractual services. What type of services are we providing?
Well, I just read the one for the lady that's doing the 2nd year.
Oh, okay, can you go back to juvenile court aid?
This is the POP program which we talked about when we did the last month when we ordinances. This is a group that comes in for the youth and hit them referred by LCJC for low-level gun charges. That's what they're there for. So that's Dr. McGee. He comes in and your group comes and talks to these kids. The juvenile alternative JDAI, that's juvenile detention alternatives initiative. That's kids that are on ankle monitors and stuff like that.
Contractual services are provided in-house or as an outside agency, and you
In some cases, it's an outside agency, like it would be with POP. That's an outside agency, and the juvenile detention alternative initiative, that's within us. Department with us. And then the storytelling, that's an outside person that comes.
All right, any other questions?
just won't surprise my colleagues. You call me before you put it on the agenda? Can you call me before you put? I got a text from you after the agenda was out. So you had already gone ahead and submitted it. It's what we want. If it happens again, I'm gonna say no after.
You want, before it's okay, all right, that's no problem. They typically type up my stuff for me, so, yeah. But I can have it. No
Appreciate it.
no problem.
You talking about item number 9?
Well, I'm not,
Okay.
we're not
We're
at
not there
nine
yet.
yet, but
Thank you. Okay, we're on 8.
Okay, 8 is the Lake County Community Corrections Juvenile Detention Grant Fund. We want to create new line items, part-time, FICA deduction, equipment leasing, food and lodging, other service and charges. Part-time is 56,160, FICA 4,679, equipment leasing 41,950, food and lodging 430, and other service charges 10,500. This is also a grant, it's $113,719. This is kids that are on ankle monitors.
That's what the equipment lease is for, ankle monitor.
And then C is an ordinance establishing Lake County Juvenile Detention Centers Juvenile Behavioral Health Competitive Grant Pilot Fund, non-reverting fund, 184,975. This is for our psychologist, Dr. Curtis. He's working with this. And number 9 is 40 court, simply looking to other services and charges. They want to appropriate $3,000 for more interpreters.
I answered you on that one, correct? I believe that I answered you on the appropriation from the general fund.
Right, yes.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Small also answered,
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
which was no.
Right.
Okay.
No, we didn't do it, but that's not it. We're not doing that. What we were asking about.
There's an appropriation, it's
So raise it.
it might sound small, $3,000 appropriation out of the general fund. Explain that.
Where were we at, 9?
9.
Yes, 9.
Well, this is the 40 court.
Right.
And that is for, if they need more interpreters. So that's coming out of their fund. But they have that money. It's
Who has that money?
40 budget.
Well, you mean, then otherwise it would be a transfer, so that's
This
my
is-
question,
This
can
is
you
a new
transfer?
appropriation.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's within them. They're paying for it out of what they have.
It's a transfer then.
Right.
if you need to look for a transfer within your
It
group,
says it's in Fund 1, it says it's in the general fund.
so they're requesting more money.
That's gotta be.
Yeah, see if you can
Yeah,
find something
okay, I
in
got you
their
there.
budget.
Okay, I see it.
The transfer you can place on the agenda for Tuesday, if
Yeah, if
your
it's-
chairman approves.
Sure, if it's a transfer, I don't have a problem with that. But, you know, you look at it, you've been around,
Yeah.
this is a new appropriation of general.
All right.
Will you get that rectified by Tuesday?
I see it.
Is that a yes then?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's see, one more thing, Councilwoman said, 3 months ago, you asked me about the flowers that we, the restaurants and stuff, so I've had some we want to show you and give you what we put out in the restaurant.
Beautiful, thank you.
And
Welcome.
this is Amy Wilson.
You've never
I
heard
know
it,
it.
right?
She's a probation officer. I mean, if you have any questions about it, if you want to know a little bit more about it, she can briefly tell you.
What's your name again? I missed it.
Amy Bldg.
Thank
Right.
Well,
It was good effort. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you all for, supporting everything you do over there, in the flower farm. So yeah, we bring, these two, Butterfingers down in Crown Point, asparagus and, Geno's. And give them centerpieces and flowers, for the restaurant. We also have kids coming back for community service, so they're the ones that cut the flowers and make the arrangements. And not only do we do flowers, but after last year and all the talk of, the vertical farming and, the food desert crisis, it really kind of sparked this interest for us to not just grow vegetables out there, but teach the kids what they can do with the vegetables. So not only can you grow tomatoes, you can take tomatoes and peppers and onions and garlic that you grow in your backyard and make salsa. So that has really been a turnaround in our community service. So not only are the kids working to do all the planting and the harvesting, but then we're showing them how to make salsa, how to make pickled powdered cucumbers. And so it's really been, the season's just getting started, but it's been great. So thank you. I hope you love them.
I do.
Give that segue introduction for walking in the flowers. In a flower dress.
I know.
Consider like hosting the Oscars.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, everybody have a great Fourth and be safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Elections. Good morning, Rachel. This is a lost check from one of our poll workers from 2019. Unfortunately, I have no good story about it being stuck in a row with McDonald's hamburger. It is simply a lost check. She brought the check into us and is asking for it to be reissued to have funds within this year's budget. So you can go ahead and take her out.
I talked to her.
Any questions from anyone?
This person didn't realize they could shoot someone.
Yeah, I think she just lost it.
5 years later.
We've had it as some of our coworkers get older. We had one where it fell between the cabinets, was too afraid to, or too embarrassed to tell her son that she had dropped it because he had moved the cabinet. We get all sorts of stories when they lose it. Sometimes they just lose it and life goes on and then they find it. And get it back now. And I was kind of wondering, I mean, I know at different conferences, they talk about where the money gets turned back over to the state. I don't think we do that with our campaign, not campaign finance, with the poll worker money, where after so many years, it gets reverted to the state. These kind of funds go through to there, right? Because I know one year you guys asked me at what point in time do we stop? How many years down the road? And if they got turned over to the state, then, I don't have 2 years, sometimes they lose the lost funds to the state. If that happened, then we wouldn't have to do this. Yeah, like how they.
Yeah, unclaimed property.
So I could,
I say dance for that.
yeah, we just redesigned and implemented and built from scratch a new Oracle process to handle that very thing you're talking about. I don't know it off the top of my head, but there's a state code out there that basically says any unclaimed warrants or checks will just get receipted back into funds that they came from. So after 2 years. So that's how the process works. And it's rather than deal with an outstanding liability for God knows how long, a $12 check. So we just receipt it back if they remember they have it. Again, yeah, that's exactly so perfect example.
So I guess every now and then when we come back with these, probably there's other ones that are lost out there. They just come back into the general fund. Any questions?
Right, at the court, say. Operative extension,
I don't know if Julie's on here, but I did talk to her about letting me know things were gonna be on the agenda. Victoria let her know, and so talked to her about it. They had an issue with the printer, so I'm different.
questions?
Just a comment. Something simple, you know, since I've been here, it's a matter of why can't the agency notify or speak to us, the council person, prior to the meeting? This is like rehashing something that's been around for a while. It's just a telephone call and say, I'm going to put this on the agenda or discuss, but it seems to be new to people coming up here. And they don't know they're supposed to have contact with the council person prior to it going on the agenda.
Well, they know. It's one thing of knowing and one thing of abiding, because Tori sends out letters to each department informing them of the process that they need to contact the chairman of their committee or they won't be placed on the agenda. I think, I think where we're falling maybe on our part, the administrative a little bit, is that there's deadlines for appropriation, certain things have to be advertised. So the auditor is probably, they're submitted to the auditor first. And then that gets placed on, that gets there. So it's advertised, and I believe if it's advertised, and it has to be placed on our agendas, from what I understand. So we're gonna work on that, but they know, they think that they should be contacting, and we revised it again, and revised it again. And, yeah, certain departments just aren't fulfilling that request.
Well, I hope I get support, because if juvenile continues, I'm going to ask for no action, and I hope.
That's the way to do it.
So I'm gonna let it go, and that's what I'm gonna do. Sorry, this.
Madam President,
Yes.
furthermore, I think it's also important as we go into this budget season that people on these budget committees have an opportunity to meet with folks in various departments. I enjoy doing this stuff in budgets. I had a great meeting last week with a highway department. It was very productive, excellent dialogue. It just, I think it helps everybody to kind of get on the same page here and what we're focused on. Have elected officials involved in that process because it's our job to adopt the budget. So to go a step further, I would like to see our department people at least contact us, give us the opportunity to have those budget meetings, look through things, and that way that dialogue can be had in a productive fashion in a meeting when we're considering what are going to be very complex budgets going forward.
Yes. I try to do the same with all my committees. Before, I remember Carol would actually schedule all our committees for a meeting. And you can ask her to do that. You can say, but they should be coming to us. And requesting. Sometimes I think they go straight to Scott because he's got the numbers, but they forget that Scott doesn't have a vote in any of this.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah.
Anytime about that.
Any council approval. And you should give the courtesy to the person that is, the chair of your budget committee and the other committee members.
We received, and I like Scott's email, but Randy and I concur.
Yes. I need to. Okay, back to the agenda.
I'm keenly interested in what the prosecutor. I'm keenly interested in whether the prosecutor's office will find.
Yes, I'm the chair of the prosecutor and they always reach out.
It's,
911,
I'm only on the committee, I'm not even on it, sure, but
Yeah.
Mr. Carter does contact me. It's
Yeah,
not.
Jacob.
You don't want that to be.
Okay, veterans. All right, Jake.
We talked about it. Tom said the commissioners are good, so do the second reading and
Now we have a
one extra request.
Oh.
This is something that just popped up here recently. I've not had to deal with it for the last 11 years. Had somebody try to do a county burial benefit that was deceased 10 years ago. I would like to amend the ordinance while we're already changing the monetary portion of it to include time limits. Specifically, maybe to reflect what the federal time limit is. So the 38 CFR says, anybody entitled, a surviving spouse has a 2-year time limit. Either we do it at the county level or going into the next legislative session, I would like to work with one of the senators down there to amend the Indiana code to have that time limit put in there. So we can either do it at our level, make it easy.
Because the Indiana code, have a limit right now.
No limit.
No limit.
Yeah, if you have your problem, you make it more restrictive than the state statutes.
The state doesn't have,
That's what I'm saying.
like, so, but if we mimic federal,
If the statute's silent, doesn't that give us some space to lean into law of the land type?
it does, because the state ordinance says that a burial benefit should be paid out not to exceed $1,000, so that gives discretion to local municipalities. I think we should set the bar for the rest of the 91 other.
What do you think, Ray? I mean, the statute
But I would-
is silent, but the federal regulation.
And I would like to prevent this from ever coming up again and it being an issue, because like I said, 11 years, I've never had anybody come in 10 years later and try to file for burial benefits.
Yeah.
Transitioning from Boston to Oracle, you cannot go back that far to find if it was paid or not. You know, it's going to create problems, and I would just like to get ahead of it before it creates any other problems. Or we can just stick with what I've asked for and go from there.
You know, just on behalf of veterans, before you sit there and say, well, why would someone wait 5 years? Just let you know, sometimes veterans pass away, they don't have immediate family, and it's a distant relative or a later family member. And then they realize that there is some money out there. So I think giving them the maximum amount of time of the 2 years should make it restrictive on them. I think they've earned that, veterans earned that benefit. And if it takes a while to process it, then give them a reasonable amount of time to do that. And I think 2 years.
5 years is, I understand things happen and things get away from people, but that.
Might not have been aware of it. Jason, you know, you can't sit there and say you're gonna judge people because we live in the system and we know how it works, but there's people out there that have no clue on that that's even a benefit for them. They might have buried the veteran and not knowing. 5 years later, someone comes up and says, oh, your dad was a veteran. Did you know you were entitled to this? And they're like, no, the funeral director never told me.
I would like to say that it's not on the funeral home. So on the death certificate, it marks off served in the U.S. Armed Forces. When that gets back to the health department generates a letter that says, please contact your county BSO for burial benefits. So there is a link there that they do get notified.
Bad reading, big advantage.
Ray, do you have a opinion on that?
I say go for it.
Hmm.
What 10 years or?
2 years.
No, I want it to mimic the federal statute.
Here's what I would do, I would not ask to add second reading. So it's very clear.
And we'll do a new first and second reading next Tuesday or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Couldn't we just do a second reading, Ray, and just offer the amended version in the second reading and approve?
Yes. If you're gonna do is. Thank you. And then we'll do the second reading as amended.
Set.
And I think if anything down the road, if anyone really has any objecting to it, then we can.
I mean, I found out something really interesting throughout this whole process, because I did call the other 15 counties that are in the Northwest District. So that's Newton, Jasper, Cass, Benton, et cetera. Newton pays $1,000 max. Other counties pay 100. I found out that we are the only county that has something in our ordinance that pays a spouse passing. So again, the law of the land, you know, giving that discretion to local municipalities, I think, again, Dan said, you know, the beacon on the hill, like I want our office to be that office that people look at to see how the office should be ran. I want us to set the stone for set the stage for the other counties. I'm good. Good if you guys are.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Planning Commission?
No.
Actually, there are two. Good morning.
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 Great, by the way. There actually are two unanimously recommended residential zone changes. One for a one lot subdivision, the other on a large amount of acreage, the other for a 2 lot subdivision with one home already built property. So I think they came to you with a unanimous 9-0 favorable recommendation.
Good with it? You good with it, Randy?
Yeah, no, I was there. There was not a lot of debate with it. One thing I wanted to ask you, I didn't have a chance to follow up on this. The agritourism, what happened in the BZA with that?
Waived all of your recommendations, just with the possibility that if it could run with the petition, that was the only. I think Steve met with the group today or yesterday to go over this. They're proceeding. I think they want to do everything right, like you pointed out.
Good, thank you.
Thanks.
I thought you were placing that other item on the agenda, the amendments to your plan, I forgot what it's called.
UDO?
Yeah,
That's what you just talked
There's a,
oh,
there's a proposed amendment.
that was at the hearing.
It's going to be heard by the plan commission.
Gotcha.
In July, and then recommended to you.
In August.
So they recommended to you for August.
So
Okay.
one way or another, it will get in front of the council.
Yes, we can't go anywhere else. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lake County Sheriff. Happy 4th, Jen.
Request to apply. Two of them are for the SAFE grant, which is the Supporting Addiction-Free Environments for Lake County. One of them would be for cardio over cannabis, which is for urban air gift cards as an incentive to participate in a drug-free lifestyle. And the other one is Narcan and essential bags, which would be used for incentive bags containing basic items for individuals suffering from drug addiction. And both of those would be overseen by the Perry girls. And then we have the Safer Schools grant, which would be funding for the Stratasite software system for all of Lake County schools and a FirstNet portable cell tower.
Questions?
Where's the 25% coming from?
From our existing funds, like,
Yeah, well, right.
we'll not be asking for any additional.
And the other two don't have match.
Right. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have just, Madam Chair, a general question. I reached out to the warden about, there was a local group that does ministries inside of the local jails or prisons. They were wondering, they used to be able to have access to the Lake County Jail.
Who's this?
What's the,
Scalpels?
it's Freedom Bound
If you'd
Ministry.
like to contact me, I'll try to facilitate that.
Okay.
We have restrictions in the jail now, still based on COVID and other health issues, but I'd be more than happy to talk if they have a phone number.
Okay, I emailed the warden.
Just
So,
give them my number.
okay, I'll do it. Thank you.
Happy holiday, thank you very much.
You too.
Thank you.
Morning.
Morning.
We are asking for an additional appropriation in our bad check fund. The appropriation is just because I miscalculated our ending 2024 balance when I was doing, or preparing the budget last year. The appropriation will allow us to use up the remaining funds and then we can close that fund out.
Any questions?
Any questions?
You'll.
Good. Yep.
He's looking at Charlie.
Back to
All
4th.
right, thank you. Yes, too.
Run.
Lake County Commissioners. Oh, there you are, Ted.
Morning.
Morning.
Commissioner Rebay should be.
Commissioner,
I'm
you
here,
on?
I'm here, but easier for you to listen to him. I can chime in at the end.
We're here on a request to add a new position. the new position is a systems technical lead. That'll be out of the commissioner's office. Basically, what this position will do is oversee the infrastructure, systems infrastructure for the county, specifically being an Oracle specialist. This would help with utilization of Oracle. This would help with planning future initiatives with Oracle. This would be a lead technical advisor from a leadership standpoint to look at things from a proactive basis. Also, we're looking at this position as being knowledgeable enough to wean us off our consultants. We spend a lot of money. I mean, I was surprised how much money we spend on consultants with Baker Tilly regarding Oracle fixes. And I've gone through 2 processes personally in the 10 months I've been here that were slightly frustrating because there was no answer in the end. And it was a simple, how does the video get played in my Oracle system for journeys? Okay? I think that this would complement what we already have with data. I think that this is the next step that the county needs in order to move the software we pay a lot of money for, to move it forward and to address all the issues. I've talked to a lot of people. There's little things that don't work or can't be fixed or not attended to. And this technical lead would be overseeing implementation of those fixes, would have a greater understanding of how Oracle works and how our government system works. And then they can ask better questions with our consultants or directly to Oracle.
If I could, Madam President, just to add maybe a finer point to it, or another analogy, it's somewhat similar to our relationship, our former relationship with Johnson Controls, where we had good technical advice, great people that were housed in our facility and did the work, but they weren't ours. It wasn't our expert. And since hiring HVAC lead in-house, we've been able to take advantage. We still use Johnson and but we have a more deeper relationship, and it's easier for us to, by having an individual who has that experience and also the ability to act in our best interest 100% of the time. So that's kind of where we're thinking. I would also like to say we have had a lot of conversation about Oracle specifically and this particular software upgrade. I didn't catch all of Dan's commentary in the beginning, but I agree with probably most or maybe all of it in regard to its implementation. Whether it's Oracle or anything else, we have there's a lot of software solutions out there, and having somebody in-house with that expertise will allow us to select from all the possible software solutions that are out there, whether they're Oracle or something else.
Any questions?
Question, Ted and Mike. Is this partially a duplication with data? Are there specific things different than what data does that we're looking to accomplish that? Because frankly, when the transition from Lawson to Oracle, and I wasn't here, but in kind of looking back through it, it was rushed through lots of reports of bad training, and data was kind of at the lead of that. Is this are we duplicating things, or are we improving the overall function? It seems like
I think
go ahead, Mike.
I think if we were to go back in time, I think that situation allowed us to recognize that that's not really data's proper function. Like we probably if we had somebody like this in place, then they would have been, directing the orchestra, so to speak. In other words, okay, data, this is the amount of bandwidth that's required. I don't even know these terms more or less, but this is the amount of hardware that we need. This is the amount of capacity we need. Can you do it? These are the security protocols that we need. Can you do it? And we didn't really have that. We've asked data, and they've done, they've done a lot in that regard. But in terms of direction, like they could get direction from me or from you, the Board of Commissioners or the council, and to do X. But what we want to do is have somebody in the as an intermediary to say, to advise both the council and the commissioners, like these are best practices. And we could have the consultant do that. Becomes more cumbersome and less direct. I think the direct relationship as an employee, as an employee of the department of the Board of Commissioners, is going to be the proper solution. And it's in part because of this conversation that, ongoing issue with the current software, but it's also related to, new things. Oracle was a replacement for Lawson, but Lawson didn't do as much as Oracle does. And likewise, there's other software providers that can fit into Oracle today that could have never fit into Lawson. And those are all the like moving parts that I think would help us, that we would be helped with by having an IT, experienced IT professional that could, support our experienced accounting professionals and our experienced bookkeeping professionals. And so that's where I'm at. I think if we had that, we would have had a better implementation. We relied on, consultants and some in-house folks that were not as skilled as we would have liked, I guess.
Another question, and I appreciate you tap dancing around that a little, Commissioner, but so you brought up Johnson Controls as being a contractor for HVAC, and they used to serve, if I'm understanding you correctly, as kind of also a technical advisory, somewhat of an operational advisor. So in looking at this position, is this an opportunity to start like moving away from having someone like Cenefax running a department and actually do more of this stuff in-house? Is this a step in that direction to create more functional departments of government that are accountable directly to elected officials?
I think it could be, but it's probably more likely to be where folks have an expectation of a contractor that their contract doesn't say, or they weren't designed to meet. They've tried to meet it and they've done a really good job, don't get me wrong, but in terms of the master plan, like I don't think a contractor can adequately plan on behalf of the organization. And so I think you need an employee in the organization to adequately plan, and then that individual can instruct or delegate duties as they see fit, whether that be another full-time person to do it, or whether the contractor in the support role. I think most of us are aware of all the different things that our data processing department does in terms of IT, just baseline infrastructure that's required of an organization as big as we are. The planning, though, the big picture stuff. I mean, we were with Lawson for probably 15 years more than we should have been. And that wasn't necessarily our contractor's fault. It was our fault. And so, but it was our fault because we didn't know what we didn't know. And so this puts somebody in that position to advise us on a day-to-day basis and advise us in a moving forward, like a master plan type situation to get us in the right frame of reference. The other point on Johnson, we still use Johnson a ton. I mean, we still use all their infrastructure they still support us. We have a lot of software, but the difference is that we've got, when it comes to like making the decision, making the plan, making the long-term, it's our folks that are doing it. So.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all.
Yes, it's in your packet.
Where will this person be housed? Will it be in your office?
Yes, I mean, another point of this is like having Ted in, as we add in truly professionals that have outside work experience, I realize, and Joe Travis is the same, I put him in the same boat, and Dan and Scott, trying to determine like, okay, how much can Ted do? And Ted does a ton already, thankfully. But this is a missing piece in our office. So yes, the long story short, it would be in our office. It would be right in our along with Ted. It would be along with Ted and HR. They would be kind of in the same bullpen, if you will.
Any other questions?
Not talking about our Ted.
Oh no, not your Ted. I mean, your Ted is great, but he's
Over too.
Ted.
They're
both Ted Bs.
Retired, not to give more work.
We're both Ted Bs.
They're both Ted.
Oh, yeah.
They're both
Both Irish now.
Polish Teds. But I wouldn't trade my Brzezinski for a Bilski. No offense, Ted Bilski. Unless we're playing golf, then I would go with Bilski.
All right, no further questions?
Just a comment. I would actually, to add Commissioner Ripe's thoughts, I would say, I would liken this and draw parallels to like hiring of my position. Because I think like Commissioner Ripe said, we understand that there's a need for this expertise in-house so that they can direct, the consultants quicker, faster, and easier. Because any consultant that you're hiring outside is not going to have the understanding, the base knowledge that you need. Like they're not allowed, or they shouldn't be able to make accounting decisions for us. They can tell you what best practice is, but if you don't have anybody in-house to understand what that is, be able to conceptually form a plan or direction, it's not gonna matter. You're gonna have garbage in, garbage out. I think this is a great addition for sure.
And maybe it takes some relief off of Scott too, I don't know.
Well, not Dan being here is taking relief off me, Ted being here has, and this will also.
Scott doesn't want too much relief.
Well, there's.
He's a finance guy.
Yeah.
He's not an IT person.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. Like,
Right.
we currently, like Commissioner Ripe said, we don't have that expertise in-house to be able to guide decisions that are for the best interest of the county. Consultants their decisions are gonna be in the best interest for them to continue working. That's, yes, swear to God. I don't know.
Well, and that's kind of the question I ask about duplication is, we essentially have a consultancy that's running data.
Yeah.
Centefax. And also that bleeds into some of your payroll issues, where we have this very fragmented approach to payroll that runs through the auditor's office, but runs through data and runs through a consultancy. So could this technical advisor help us to defragment that, get this more streamlined, and put it in an efficient form that helps to manage it?
Bridges the gap.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you said earlier, Dan, about the consulting fee appropriation you're asking for. Maybe when this new person comes up, maybe we won't need all of that.
Yeah, exactly. We can start paring away some of these things that we're paying for and bring them in-house, be way more efficient.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thanks, Ted.
Yep.
Happy 4th of July. Okay.
Thank you. Happy 4th.
Thanks, Commissioner. I just have
The other one, yeah.
the transfer request. This is a follow-up to the appropriation request from last month that I withdrew. This is for Hermit's Lake. I'm asking for a transfer into the other services and charges fund so that we can cover our expenses through the end of the year. And then as the fees come in, we can rebuild the fund that's in there for Hermit's Lake to the end of the year. And hopefully by that time, we'll have a resolution with Crown Point on.
Madam President, question. How are those conversations going with Crown Point? Because looking at what you sent me on those sewer rates, those are stiff. I mean, I haven't seen sewer rate increases that aggressive as what we're seeing out of Crown Point. Yeah, I represent part of Crown Point, so does Ted, and so does Pete. But holy smokes, that's a real burden on the users there. And I think the whole project that you guys all worked on to move off of the septic system that was failing to this was very good for public health and long-term management. those residents are getting hit hard.
Yeah, so that is in progress. Matt's leading the charge in that, and there's good progress going with that, so maybe. in the
Chad,
next month or
I'm
so.
here. Councilman, I can provide you a little bit more detail, but I can tell you that we're still in negotiations with the city of Crown Point. But all of the conversations that we have had with them have been very positive. We have a meeting scheduled with the city of Crown Point for next Wednesday at 3:30, where we are getting very close, rather than being charged a flat rate for estimated gallons of use per month for residents that are in unincorporated Lake County, but are associated with the Crown Point water treatment system. We are working towards getting a metered rate for those individuals that are located both in Hermit's Lake and the residents that are in the new subdivisions that are being transferred from septic to sewer. So I think that I can report to the council that we're making positive progress. Crown Point has been receptive to the data that we have provided to them as to the actual amounts of water flow that they are receiving. And I would anticipate, hopefully, that by the end of summer, we'll have an agreement with the city of Crown Point and hopefully a modified ordinance to reduce the amounts that Lake County is paying to the city of Crown Point.
I appreciate you working on that, Matt. Those people deserve some good representation and a voice in that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
You want to do C and D?
Pardon me?
Yeah.
Resolution.
John?
Oh, the seated resolution?
Yeah.
This is as a part of the bond ordinance that the council passed regarding the SRF loan that we received for the Calumet Township Septic to Sewer project. Mr. Blanchard has indicated that we need a triggering mechanism every 6 months to allow the auditors to pay on the interest rate or the interest on that SRF bond. And so this is the 6-month resolution. There'll be another one before you in December. It was all contained within the schedule of payments on that bond ordinance when it was passed, and you'll see that it's consistent with that amount.
Thank you. Any questions?
Council, this is
Yeah.
change, just out of curiosity, I was asking Attorney O'Donnell, I don't remember ever having to do that before. And I didn't know if there's something changed by,
Well, Larry's the one that advised them, so.
it's just,
It's bond transfer.
yes,
So the owner has a record of where the fund went. Look at, the cash balances. Or you don't, you wouldn't see it otherwise.
Yeah,
This will have the cash transfer.
yeah, this is allowing us the ability
The interest.
to put this on our GL from an accounting perspective properly. Definitely something we need to have.
How did interest payments get made before?
right.
Well, it just depends. There was some confusion around how this stuff was set up originally because of the different parties involved. I became aware of it much later, and from an accounting perspective, recognized that we needed to change some things, and this is one of them. Just so that we're in compliance.
Makes life easier for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's never seen it before, that's why I was.
yeah, there's gap compliance that we need to be in line with, as well as regulatory stuff for the AFR that the SBA looks at. And then this allows us to be able to control the transit.
Any other questions? And the interlocal agreements?
One of those is for with the South Shore Visitors Bureau. That is for the air show for $25,000. And then the other one is with the city of Lake Station. They have a road project. And these are monies that Commissioner Allen is using for those. I think the road project in Lake Station, I think is overall 600,000. I think Lake Station's putting in 400 and we're putting in 200, or maybe it's even 800 and we're putting in 200.
The Lake Station, if I may, the Lake Station project is a county supported through CETA, the South Shore Convention Visitors Center is county supported through Monsanto settlement funds. The Lake Station project is Ridge Road. So as people that traverse Ridge Road through Hobart and the like understand that it is a multi-community project that they were not able to complete without funding from us. So that's why we supported it.
Any questions? Yeah, I didn't realize that the South Shore couldn't fund the Gary Air Show and they needed support. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Ted.
Okay, thank you. Happy 4th.
Thank you. Okay, now we just have council business. We have a library appointment. Saw the letter that was submitted. The director, there's 3 that she recommended, which doesn't mean we have to appoint those that were recommended. And appoint someone else. I don't know how you want to handle that. Do you want to do, someone want to make a nomination? Do you want to hold interviews?
Let me do it like the rest of our board, just make a nomination at the meeting. Anybody could do their
Yeah.
due diligence prior and then we'll.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be somebody from Crown Point. Just somebody who doesn't currently have a library, like East Chicago would be.
Right, not Hammond or PC.
Yeah, so it can be anybody from Cedar Lake, Maryville, Dyer, Griffith, Highland, Colbert, Lake Station, Munster, or St. John. So I can send this list to you and with that Mr. Steer, we could push it down the line. And make it
Right.
Mr. McIntyre is the one who's been serving, but he can no longer serve. He's done his 4 terms, and then it's 4 terms and serving his 4 terms.
I don't need to. I got a lady from Munster that I'm willing to nominate.
Perfect. All right, Public Safety Communication Commission. Oh, that's 91. And currently sit, don't mind sitting unless somebody else would. All right, anything else? Anybody else have anything they want to ask?